I was always wondering that am I doing justice to my 5 years of education? I think I can say that the demand for this is much more than the supply. But the education system did not manage to catch up. As creative professionals, we can never say that, okay, we're done, we know everything.
Oh no.
That learning doesn't stop. Interestingly, this Council of Architecture this year has changed the professional practice law. I had a private account on Instagram.
Okay.
I find it a little intrusive. That whole Instagram versus reality concept is very real.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond Blueprints. On today's show, we have Tanya Khanna, the founder of Epistle, one of Asia's largest communications consultancy. She's an architect by education, yet she went into the space of content and marketing at a very young age. Today's episode is focusing on marketing. If you're a designer or an architect, this is an absolute marketing masterclass. Lots of content coming your way on how to build your brand, what are the right platforms to choose. So I hope you like the content, and if you do, don't forget to press the share, like, and subscribe button. Welcome to the show, Tanya.
Thank you.
So great to have you today. So just want to get an understanding how you got into this space. You're an architect by, you studied architecture, you're a qualified architect, but now you're into the content creation marketing space. So ये कैसे हुआ?
So it actually goes back to my early school years. My career choices were architecture and journalism. And at that point, the idea of a professional degree was very critical. Yeah. And my dad said, you know what, you can always go back to journalism, but you cannot go back and choose architecture. So why don't you, even though he initially did not want me to even practice architecture, but he said, okay, if this is your final two choices, you go ahead and pick architecture and see if writing and journalism you can take on later. And that's really when it started. So, but coincidentally, every time I got a professional opportunity, work-wise, right through my college years and subsequently, it was always to do with writing and content.
Right.
So my first job right after my internship was with one of India's oldest magazines. And then I was always wondering that am I doing justice to my 5 years of education? So I kept running away from this aspect and I kept looking for opportunities that would be mainstream architectural practice. And then I decided to go in for a master's. Yeah. I went to London. I did a master's in architecture again, architecture design, because I always felt that design was the only way one could really do justice to the profession. And it is at that point I realized that, which was just a complete shift in thinking, mindset, and the environment where I was, that practice is not just making buildings.
Right.
There is a whole other dimension of mainstream design and practice. And there are so many allied domains that actually are responsible for the success of a good practice.
Right.
And that shift in thinking made me start exploring other avenues. So when I worked there, my role was, I got a job with a leading firm. My role was always 50% design and 50% content, marketing, and writing. And that over many years led to me coming to that realization that, this was what my interest and this is where my passion was. And I decided, I think when I was about 27, 28, to commit to this full time.
Right.
I stopped designing at all. I love design, but it's only, it's not something I practice at all now.
So you were working in London.
Yeah.
50% of your work you were working in London was on content creation.
Yes.
Didn't you feel that odd that ye kiya kuch aur, but why are they pushing you to
like I
content?
said, I think from the age of about 22 to 27, I was in my head, that battle was ongoing. It was very hard because it was a different, I worked in India, I worked in London, then I came back to India and I was still going through that same battle in my head. And particularly in India, nothing like this existed.
Right.
So this whole mindset was not there. Yeah. But luckily, I think I really must be very grateful to all my mentors, whether it was my college professors or my ex-bosses. They all made me recognize that this was also a unique skill set that I had. And that made me, I mean, the fact that my UK firm offered to do a full 5-year work permit for me
Right.
was because they said that, I remember my 80-year-old boss at that point, and he said, I have not seen a profile like this. We want you.
Yeah.
We will do the whole thing of advertising in a London newspaper. And it was really hard in those times, but they did it. Coming back to India, again, I was working for one of India's leading architectural practices, and I'm very grateful to my sort of mentors there, because every time I had this battle in my head that, am I doing the right thing? They made me see the opportunity in it. They also gave me a full free hand in terms of doing what I could do. It wasn't just writing articles. It could be making a movie. It could be doing an award entry. It could be creating a monograph. It could be creating project books.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I wasn't questioned. And I think that really gave me the confidence over a period of time that, okay, there is room for this. And at that point in my head, I think when I was about 27, that, okay, I can do this for one firm. I did not think it could scale up to where it is today. But the seed was sown.
You started off on your own after you left this firm?
Yeah.
This is back in 2013?
This is in 2011.
2011?
Yeah.
And now we're sitting in 2023.
Yes.
How has the landscape changed from when you started your business and how the content creation side for the architectural and design space, how's that today, that industry?
It has completely transformed. I am myself surprised, very pleasantly surprised actually, that, in India particularly, and moreover Southeast Asia, how this whole shift in thinking has happened. When I started, and I started thinking that I'll be a consultant, an independent freelance consultant, because I thought there's no room for this, right? Because people were like, how does this help us as designers? And the idea was only to be able to write and maybe put in some strategy in terms of how do you position a brand, etc. And I know for a fact that my first few clients, and until I think the first 5 years of Epistle, there was this constant thing about, okay, why don't you show us what you can do?
Yeah.
And that was, we don't think a financial commitment will help. This is what we can pay, because marketing is not for architects and designers and for product brands. Traditionally, nobody in the industry has done it. But yes, what you're saying sort of makes sense. So they would all meet me with great interest. There would be great conversations. When it came to money, it was just like, okay, this is the budget that we have. And I would be like, okay, let me show it to you. So I think the first 5 years of Epistle were showing to people, literally behind the scene, demonstrating to them that, okay, there is something, this adds value to what you do. Today, 12 years later, the scene is completely different. From us being the first consultancy to do this, today there are many others.
Yeah.
That itself is a sign that this helps.
Yeah.
There is a need for it. Today, in fact, I think I can say that the demand for this is much more than the supply, which is really sad, because our education system has not managed, while the industry has caught up and the industry has managed to recognize that we all need it. Today, even a startup interior designer, a one-person studio will still invest in marketing in their own ways.
Yes.
They will have their social media channels. They will have a profile deck. They will put up something on LinkedIn. They'll do something on Instagram. Everybody's doing something.
Yeah.
But the education system did not manage to catch up. And we are still not training our young architects and designers to work in content.
Yeah. Why do you say the education system is not keeping up with what today's requirement is?
So initially, this option of, this system rather, this process of putting your content together and using it for your own marketing and communications was something that only some people were doing, right? Especially when I started. I knew that only very selected organizations would choose to do it.
Isn't there a code that you, as an architect, you can't, like lawyers,
yes,
doctors,
there is,
and architects?
But very interestingly, this Council of Architecture this year has changed the professional practice law. So they say that you can't solicit work, but you can use social media, etc., and other platforms to actually showcase your work.
Okay.
Which is, again, the doors have opened, right? Which was what earlier was ambiguous. Now there's full clarity today that everybody must do it. It is in fact prescribed by the Council of Architecture. So now when that happens, the fact is that everybody today is wanting to do it. But from an education perspective, the demand and supply issue has become, that gap has just widened. The need for it is for every firm to do it. But our young architects are not trained to look at this.
Yeah.
They're not trained to write. They're not trained to look at storytelling. They're not trained to look at design as a narrative. They're not, in fact, told and taught and trained, more importantly, to put down systems and processes to make marketing and communications an integral part of what they do.
Right.
And that is a much bigger challenge. It's not about us not having the talent. It is just that our talent is not being trained to do it. The thing that works for creative professionals, and I'll be sort of open-ended here. It could be fashion. It could be any art. The fact that you belong to the trade really helps. This is what helped Epistle as well. And if today our education system does not catch up and integrate these systems and processes into what we are training at the undergrad level, and then of course at the postgrad level, we don't talk about design as a business, we're going to fall behind.
Yeah. Your team at Epistle, a large part of them working with you are qualified architects.
Yes.
And they've come into this field.
And we've literally hunted them out. And anybody who's interested in not practicing and has discovered that mainstream practice is not for them, Epistle doors are always open. Because we say that, okay, you come, you figure it out.
Okay.
And some of them are not entirely sure as to which aspect. Are they going to be writing? Are they going to be doing strategy? Are they going to be looking at digital and socials? They don't know. We don't know. But you come on board, you test the game out, and you figure it out for yourself. And I think that's the best way to find your true calling, really.
Reached out to any colleges or plan to do something to change?
Well, so I mean, in the last few years, I have been a part of a lot of academic initiatives, both at the faculty level as well as the student level. Education really is where I eventually want to make impact.
Okay.
So, whether it is talking about our work at places like NASA, at even the policy, like today now, I think there was a summit recently Sushant School had organized to align how the architectural curriculum can be aligned with the NEP, with the new NEP. Yeah. And I was there, I spoke about how we need to look at our systems, the credit-based system. So I think it is a slow process, but yeah, definitely we are totally committed to doing this. And I think if we get any opportunity to go and engage with academia, me and the entire team is very happy to do it.
That's very good to know. Coming back to the, you said something that people are doing random stuff, I would say.
Yeah.
You're doing a LinkedIn post, you're doing a Insta post, randomly putting up images here, there, etc. So if someone wants to build out a marketing strategy, what are the main go-to things they need to keep in mind to build out for an architect or a designer to go and build out a strong marketing strategy?
I think the first step is actually introspection.
Right.
Which, I think a lot of people forget. Right. The first step is to go figure out who you are, where you want to be, and what is your core expertise. Once you know that, then you can identify which of these tools will work for you. The tools available from a marketing and communications perspective are too many, and it is not worth investing all your time in and spreading yourself thin across all the tools. Yeah. If you know that, okay, you are going to look at doing residential work, then Instagram or Pinterest are good tools for you. But if you're looking at institutional work or commercial work and you're working with developers, your target audience is not on Instagram. You may then choose LinkedIn as a tool, or even from a PR perspective, there is no point in sort of saying that, okay, let me adopt an aggressive PR strategy. I want to get published and featured. And you only look at design magazines because nobody's really reading these design magazines. The audience for the design magazines is just other architects and designers who are potentially just conflict of interest for your business.
Right.
Instead, if you are looking at, if you're working on things like housing, you're looking at infrastructure, you're looking at hospitals, mainstream media, newspapers, and like mainstream magazines like India Today or anything actually, Deccan Herald, the Hindu, there is just that's whole space. There's so much happening there. Take your work to that platform But choose your platforms. Do not go, like I said, don't spread yourselves thin. Pick your platforms wisely, and just 2 or 3 are good enough.
Okay. And now someone very young in their process, in their practice, right?
Yeah.
They are hungry for work.
Yeah.
A lot of people, what I hear them say is that they don't say no to any work that comes. Any work is good.
Which is fine. I mean,
right?
that's the way to do it. Yeah.
So they pick up projects, even if it's in the residential or renovation space. They pick up a project they know they should not be doing. वो कर लेते हैं क्योंकि उनको करनी पड़ती है. That's where they are in that stage of life. In that sense, how can marketing expedite the whole process of them getting out of, start where... can marketing play a role in getting them better business?
So this is where the word strategy sort of fits in, right? Yeah. Strategic marketing and communications. And that's really what we also try and focus on. The idea is to not do anything and everything.
Right.
You can be you could be doing 100 projects, but you can be selective in what you want to say about those projects.
Right.
You could be selective in your approach to those projects. I mean, what we tell a lot of our clients, especially the young and mid-sized practice, push out thought leadership more than just the built product, right? The built product will always be, okay, fine, you have the capability to build, right? You have the capability to design something that can get built. There has to be a 50% focus on that and a 50% focus on how you are approaching design. And we have seen enough examples of that over time. Okay. We were working with this mid-size, small size practice who had never undertaken any documentation, marketing, nothing. They didn't even have a website. So we started with them on a very clean slate in the middle of COVID, when COVID had just started. And what we did was we said, okay, we are only going to create and curate your content.
Okay.
And we started with website. We said nothing goes beyond the website. So first you start with the website. And because they had only 2 or 3 projects they could photograph, we focused a lot on thought leadership pieces. They wrote articles, etc. Very interestingly, because it was COVID time and the media was talking about the home as the workplace, we gave a list of maybe 10 firms who were working in that space to a senior editor in Hindustan Times, and she picked out this firm amongst the many others,
right,
only because she read a blog on how to create a work at home space on their website.
Wow, that's nice.
Now, they got a double spread feature in Hindustan Times. It can't get bigger than that. People pay to get that sort of stuff. The other thing is, they started getting recognized for the real value add in terms of design thinking. And that, I think, is a much better use of your investment in resources from a marketing perspective. Even time, energy, bandwidth is a resource. So the fact that they wrote that piece and it got that many eyeballs is so much more valuable than doing an Instagram post, for example, right? So eventually it comes down to what you want and where you can add value.
Coming back, you said that the first thing that you start off with is a website, right?
Yeah.
What should an architect's or a designer's website look like? What's the purpose of the website? What should it...
So I'm going to say, something blasphemous maybe, but I think most architects and designers, and maybe a lot of creative professionals also, think of the website as a design project.
Yeah.
Right? They spend years. We've met so many people. हम 2 साल से design कर रहे हैं website को.
Sorry to interject. I feel the people, and I used to feel like that websites are like mannequins. एकदम सजी धजी अच्छी लगनी चाहिए, right?
Now, what happens is you are looking at it only visually. Whereas if you get into the technology side of it and the analytics and the data side of it, people don't spend more than 1.5 minutes on the homepage of a website. Now you make it a visual, either you make it that cool and cryptic and visually enticing that somebody's like, oh wow, I want to delve deeper and go to the next page or to another section. Or else, if your goal for your website is for it to drive business, are you putting your portfolio and your strengths and your capability out there?
Right.
all architects traditionally say, and I know people will kill me for saying this, but we don't like to write. We don't want to write. Please don't write a lot of words. But the fact is, along with your visuals, it is the words that will do the talking. If you don't talk about the X thousands of square foot that you have built or designed for, how do you expect a client to assume that you are credible enough to be able to carry on or execute a design project for them?
That's there. Also, I feel website has to also connect with the target audience who you're going after.
Precisely. But to think about the target audience is the first point, which nobody, we do everything. How does it matter? No, it matters. It's the fact that let's say you are saying that you're doing everything. Then please say that we work in the residential sector, we work in the commercial sector, we work in the hospitality sector, we work in the infrastructure sector. You need to literally spell it out because your audience is not informed or evolved.
No.
You need to feed them with the data that you want them to take away. And that is really the fundamental approach to designing a website. And the simpler it is, it's easier to consume content. And that's today, especially in a world where we are all overloaded with content, whether it's Google, whether it's websites, whether it's Instagram, even LinkedIn now. I mean, it's so exhausting. I find LinkedIn very exhausting. How can you put out 5 posts every day? I am stoked. I am appreciated. I am this to share. I'm excited to share. It's really not, it's not what anybody wants to see. There has to be a balance. And again, who is your target audience? Instead of just putting down project images or instead of just sharing your wins, talk about the real side of your journey. And that really changes the game.
Website, you got a gist of it, right? You spoke about LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Let's get a little specific on LinkedIn, right? What's LinkedIn great for?
Yeah.
What should be a strategy on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
And
Okay. So again, if you look at the fundamental of LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a professional networking platform.
Yes.
Now, again, when this bhir chal about LinkedIn started, more recently, 2-3 years back, everybody decided to create a company page and just started posting content.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, why are we not getting traction? I need more traction. I need more likes. I've hired a team. I'm putting in so much money, but I'm not getting the traction. LinkedIn company pages can be only driven by the individual pages.
Yes.
It is an individual platform. It is a platform meant for an individual like me to network in a professional manner with an individual like you. So I need to actually spend my energy on the individual profile. Now, how to begin with? First, update your profile.
Yeah.
Again, something that nobody thinks about. मेरे को अपना CV नहीं डालना है. It is not about your CV. It is about your strengths. LinkedIn gives you, some of the features on LinkedIn are just amazing. Your top 5 strengths, your top 5 posts.
Yeah.
They give you 250 credits every month to invite your network to follow your pages.
Yeah.
A feature that just is so lost and diluted. You have the option of creating and sending a newsletter out.
Yes.
You can write a blog, an article as separate pieces on LinkedIn today. It's LinkedIn Premium and the Sales Navigator are offering you a whole different level. Again, as an industry, I don't think we've explored it.
No.
But if somebody is looking at expanding their sales, instead of straight away thinking about hiring a business development person, try the Sales Navigator feature. You're looking at hiring, use the hiring feature because this is the best way to hire talent. And of course, thought leadership. Yes, it is about the algorithm. Yes, it is about the sort of content that you will push out. But one has to find that balance of algorithm versus content versus frequency versus also standing out. Like I said, across platforms today, we are all overloaded with content. It is not just about posting. It is about putting out something different.
I agree. And I think LinkedIn, for me personally, has been one platform where you can actually be true to who you are as a person. It allows that because the algorithm naturally picks up posts or articles which are content worthy rather than which are the masaledar, dhamakedar, usko nahi prefer karta.
Yeah. Also, it allows you, I mean, there's so many features. It now uses AI to create content. You can integrate that into what you're doing. It also allows you to become a leader in a certain space. But then you have to engage with LinkedIn also. There are communities on LinkedIn. You contribute to thought leadership pieces. You contribute to articles. One can develop a whole career around LinkedIn. There is just that much potential. But one has to see whether it's the right platform for them.
Only go there if you feel it's the right platform for you.
And if you're willing to commit to it for a while. The other challenge I find is people want to hop onto what's trending, try it out for a month and say, oh, it works, it doesn't work. Don't judge it so quickly. You have to commit. It's a relationship. Make an investment and then figure it out.
Anyone who's doing very well on any platform has been building content on that platform for years and for years.
Yeah.
And when it'll pick up, you never know.
And it could be that one post that'll go viral, right? Which is probably the most authentic, true to yourself post that you've put out.
Yeah.
That'll go viral. And it may have nothing to do with your projects, but it could have everything to do with you.
So earlier in the episode, we had Utsav Kamboj and she spoke about it, that she was building this content on Insta and she just did one very funny thing that, I think if I remember right, it's ki, if when your rishtedar asks you for free advice, तो उसने उसे ऐसे करे दरवाजा दिखा दिया था कि that way. And she said out of the blue, it just went bonkers and viral. So there was no thought to making it viral. It just happened on its own.
And, I have seen in my own experience of now having worked with so many brands and practices that LinkedIn can really change the direction in which your sort of practice is going. Even if you're doing only residential work, LinkedIn is the best way to shift typologies, to test out other typologies, because it allows you to put out your process and your thinking approach more than the visual. Instagram is cluttered in that sense. There's so much visual clutter that, yes, people will look at your Instagram handle to see what you're doing, but LinkedIn can allow you to shift trajectories. And I don't know which architect or designer who doesn't want that. Everybody's happy doing homes, but people want to do and explore other things.
It's not only architecture. I'll say from my personal experience, because the only social media platform that I'm somewhat active on is on LinkedIn, and it's made hiring much easier. It's made, people look at me personally and look at the company with a different lens. They're like, oh, we really like the type of stuff that you're putting out. So,
and for us, I mean, while of course hiring is great. I mean, for Epistle, I know LinkedIn really works from a hiring perspective. But also, we get a lot of business through LinkedIn. Okay. We've been on, I have been on LinkedIn since my career started, right? And I've been not overly active, but broadly active.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that we were one of the early ones to hop onto LinkedIn has helped us over time, not just in terms of just the number of followers, but real audience, right? So for us, every month, I mean, the sort of nature of the business that we have, every month we get 1 or 2 leads on LinkedIn, which is great. I mean, we can't even possibly cater to that sort of business. But the fact that the leads are coming in with no paid marketing, nothing paid or boosted on LinkedIn, I think it's fabulous.
So if someone wants to get onto LinkedIn, they figure out that their target audience is there. What are the 3 simple starting things they need to do in a nutshell?
1, you work with the algorithm and you do post consistently. You have to do at least 1 post a week or twice. 2, you optimize all the features that LinkedIn has. So like I said, the newsletter, the blog, the article, the credits, everything. Right? You do that. It's 1 half a day of hygiene or housekeeping, as I call it, you do every week, and you could be sorted. 3rd is you genuinely introspect and create content that is true to who you are. It is not about writing 1,000 fancy words or 500 fancy words. It could really be 50 simple words about what you did. And if you keep at it, you give it 3 months, you will see the difference. I mean, I'm happy to debate this with anybody. I haven't seen one person who's come back to me and said, you know what, this doesn't work for me. So yeah.
And I'll add one more thing on top of the three you
Sure.
added. Figure out your homepage, figure out your personal page, put in as many details.
Have your profiles updated.
Profiles updated.
I mean, that of course is a given.
Thank you. That was, I think, a really amazing deep dive into LinkedIn. So let's shift to the fun social media platform. Instagram, right?
Yeah, of course.
Just
the devil in our lives.
No, okay. So just to put it out there, I have an Instagram account, but I don't use it.
Do you only use it to stalk people?
No, not even that. So I only got on Instagram a year ago because my marketing team picked up my phone. So you're not on Instagram, so they installed it on my phone. And okay, so I know what Instagram is. My wife uses it. My friends extensively use it. But I'm just if I ask something little stupid, then don't take it. I mean, for you and for everyone else listening. But yeah, Instagram.
So I'll be very honest. For the longest time, until about, I think, maybe COVID is when it changed for me. I had a private account on Instagram.
Okay.
I myself, I find it a little intrusive. I find it a bit too much.
Yeah.
I, till date, struggle with Instagram and reality. That whole Instagram versus reality concept is very real. Okay. I am myself not entirely convinced as to how much should you put out there.
Yeah.
But yes, if it works for you, and if you are that person who's happy to put your life out there, please use it to your advantage because it really does work. So my shift in mindset only happened when Instagram started to get more popular. And I had a lot of clients who were like, but you have a private account and you're telling us that we should have a full Instagram account.
Right.
And I said, okay, that makes sense. I need to test this out for myself.
Okay.
So for me, it was a trial of a test. And there was no team that was going to do this for me. So because it was COVID time, everybody had the time. I started putting out a lot of my personal stuff, which was food and stuff that I do outside of work.
Right.
And then slowly, obviously, because COVID also meant that there was no sort of boundary between work and personal life, a lot of work stuff came on. Interestingly, the design fraternity really hopped onto Instagram because it's a visual platform, which is very, again, true to who we are as designers. And it opens up a whole, again, world of opportunities. Again, 2 or 3 things that one must remember. It's a visual platform. You do need great looking visuals. If you're going to go in for the play of words, even then, visually, it has to look interesting.
Yeah.
2, Instagram is giving you the opportunity of the hashtags.
Yeah.
Right? If one is looking to build up their page, you can't shy away from the hashtags. So that's, again, one thing one must keep in mind. And a hashtag strategy is not just driven by what is trending. It is, again, driven by the audience that you are targeting. Who is the audience that you're targeting? What are the hashtags that they are following? And then your content is created accordingly. Third, Instagram is very driven by data and algorithms. While yes, good content is critical, there is no point in putting one post in a week and not keeping yourself abreast with the algorithm changes, because no matter what you do, you won't find traction.
Yeah.
It could be, I think 90% of the people I meet, they're like, we're just scared of Instagram. And I will write that perfect post. And what I keep telling them is the post doesn't need to be perfect. Yeah. The very word Instagram means that it has to be instant.
Yeah.
By having a very curated, you actually don't need agencies or, to create Instagram content for you. The premise of Instagram is that it needs to be instant. You're at site, you put a story. You finished a 3D, you put a post. Yeah. You're partying today, yes, put a story out because that's who you are.
Don't show that you're drunk, but show that you're having a good time.
And it's okay if your real side is the drunk side, please go ahead and post it. Like I realize, and it's really a realization that one has over a period of time. Like for example, I would not put up, and I know my family also doesn't agree with it, putting up my kids, for example, on Instagram, right? Yeah. But then I genuinely feel that there is a real side to me. My kids are I mean, they are a part of my life.
Yeah.
Why should my posts only be very curated and only about my work? So occasionally there is a kid's post. If I feel there's an instant moment with my kids, I will put it out there.
If you show yourself to be human and not picture perfect, because everyone knows you're not picture perfect, right?
And if you look at it, like, our work is not visual at all.
Yeah.
We are in fact bound by NDAs and so many other contracts. We can't showcase our work at all, visually, text-wise, anything. Despite that, again, we get enough business through Instagram because it's thought leadership.
Yeah.
I just go off on a rant when I'm in the mood for Instagram. But yes, I of course keep it in mind. I mean, so many people ask me that, how do you manage to put out so much organic content? Well, I have set a reminder for myself that I will post 3 times a week because that's what the algorithm needs. What I will post, I don't know.
Yeah.
But in a good moment at 6:15 p.m., my reminder will pop up and say, do you want to post on Instagram? And I'll think about my day, and if there's something, I'll post. And sometimes I'll post in the mornings, and sometimes I'll post at 8 p.m. because that's the time I'm on the road. You have to be spontaneous. And then the platform really works for you.
Yeah. No, so in the previous episode, we had Shivani Gupta from House of Lalitya.
Yeah.
And she said something very interesting that, लोग उसको कहते हैं कि, you do these dances on your projects with your team, etc. And do your clients take you seriously? And she said that it actually helps get the right client.
Exactly.
Because she's now getting clients that vibe with her energy.
Yeah.
Who like this stuff. So it gives her insight on their mindset. And
it's already broken the first boundary, right?
Yeah.
It's already built a personal connect.
Right.
And I think that's really what is needed. In fact, even for designers, we tell a lot of designers that, okay, it's great to have a company page on Instagram, but remember, there has to be a personal connect. Unless you're a large corporate where it's a faceless company, right? Then it doesn't matter. But if you are the face for your brand, you need to have an active Instagram account.
I actually differ with you. Even if you're a large company which is faceless, where a company is a company of people, encourage your team.
Yeah, absolutely. More than anything, while I mean, of course, people think I am the face of the brand only. We have a core leadership now. My constant brief to them every year is, okay, how many posts went out on Instagram? Because it defines who you are. Right. And you are also a brand. In fact, if we have a team, every team member is encouraged to build their brand at an early stage of their career. I think in our generation, a lot of people and I see with architects and designers also, post 50, post 60 is when that realization of brand building starts coming in. Today, the younger, they have all these tools available to them. They should start early on.
So I have a question for you. Should you post to get reach, or should you post to just have fun?
I think you should post to do justice to who you are and what you do. I think we as professionals or, anybody, right? We don't do justice. We are often undermining our own selves. Everybody is living with an imposter syndrome. We are constantly wondering, are we doing anything valuable to even put it out there? But I think social media tools are opportunities to showcase who you are professionally as well as personally. If one just treats it like that, and it is just one of the things, it is not a life and death situation. It is not going to make and change businesses. Yes, Instagram has made certain businesses, of course, we all know that. So use that to your advantage, but don't let it be. Today for me, my marketing tool, while like I said, I get enough business from Instagram and LinkedIn, at least business queries, and a lot of them translate, I will still not depend on them entirely.
Yeah.
It will not change the way I live or I breathe or I function. It's one of the things that's available to me. I should use it to my advantage while it's still, working for everybody.
LinkedIn ho gaya. I think Instagram we've covered in depth. Facebook?
Again, Facebook, people think it's dead, but it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not dead. You look at one age group.
Yeah.
The age group that is defining business and economy today.
Yeah.
They're still active on Facebook.
And you look at the cities.
Yeah.
You go out of the metros.
The reach.
Facebook is very, very active.
Yeah. And even in the metropolitan cities, I think a lot of, from a business perspective, right, your target audience is actually on Facebook. So if you are looking to work with developers, please be on Facebook. If you are looking to work with developers in tier 2 cities, you have to be on Facebook.
Yeah.
Even your end user is still on Facebook, because who is your end user who's investing the money in building the project? They are on Facebook.
Yeah, they are on
They are
Facebook.
not always on Instagram.
The 45
The
plus
decision
age
makers
group.
are on Facebook. Yeah.
They're on Facebook. Do you want to have a sip of water or something?
Yeah, I don't mind.
So Facebook पे थोड़ा और बात करें. How do you optimize Facebook?
Sure.
So how do you go about optimizing yourself for Facebook? So there's LinkedIn, there's Insta, and then let's talk a little bit about Facebook, and then we will just see how they should choose between the three.
So with Facebook, I think the opportunity is great because one, it's the oldest platform. So even if somebody is not active every day on Facebook, they, in all likelihood, they will have a Facebook account at least, unless they've chosen to deactivate it. So your potential for reach is huge on Facebook. To the opportunity of the diversity of content that you can push out is great. Facebook allows you to put out only text, a combinations of visual and text, and videos and reels. And because it's all under the group of Meta, it is very well integrated with Instagram. So one doesn't need to invest a lot of energy into creating separate content for Facebook. If you are on Insta, that can very well sort of, suffice. If you're not on Instagram, even then, easy informal content works on Facebook. One doesn't need, and Facebook, again, all of these platforms are now powered by AI. So they will do your grammar check for you. They will do everything for you. You just have to put your thoughts in there and maybe a selection of 1 or 2 images. And just like I said, be authentic to who you are. It is a personal platform. So it is in first person. It's totally dependent on who you are. And that, again, I think no matter what business it is, and maybe you should share some insight because, you have a legacy business and, it's obviously operating at a different scale. End of the day, it's about personal connections.
Yes. 100%.
And that's where Facebook really changes the game.
We still get a lot of leads from Facebook, from all the ads that we run, the promotions that we do across various channels.
Yeah.
Facebook is the one which works probably the best.
Yeah, and the Meta ad system is
beautiful.
Great. Yeah.
Till iPhone didn't come out with this, ask the app not to track me.
Yeah.
You could go and pinpoint to the level that I want a user who's at a certain income bracket using a certain type of device to log into Facebook. You could pinpoint pin code. I mean, you can still pinpoint pin codes where they're coming from, income brackets, profession, and as long as someone has not switched it off, you can still say, okay, I only want to target someone who's using an iPhone 14. Or I want to target someone who's using a Vivo or Micromax. Or
so I know Facebook is going to give me ads on podcasts today because that's what we are discussing. And so many other things, right? Because if you're choosing to give that data away, there is like the world is open for you. Right?
Before we get into other types of marketing channels, budgets on marketing is always limited. Sprinkle a little across the 3 channels or just go wholeheartedly for one? Of course, depending where your target audience is sitting.
I would say in the initial stages of exploring your marketing tools, sprinkle a little.
Okay.
Test out everything.
Okay.
But then look at data, see where it's working for you most, and then invest accordingly and then go all out.
So let's say someone sprinkled a little bit and figured out कि चलो एक platform अच्छा कर रहा है दूसरे से. If you choose it to be LinkedIn, what is the amount you should be willing to shell out on LinkedIn per month?
So it also depends on regions, goals, etc. That varies, but broadly I can tell you that LinkedIn is more expensive than Instagram because it's highly sort of professionally driven and sort of leads that they will give you are very specific, etc. Instagram on the other hand, when you boost in money, you're not always looking at leads, you're looking at followers and traction, etc. So LinkedIn, one should think about a minimum of 10,000 rupees a month if you're looking for paid marketing. On Instagram, you could very well gain slow momentum by putting in just 5,000 rupees a month. Just that much. Just slowly building presence. But if you are hungry and you sort of want to quickly and aggressively get work, then of course the more the better. I mean, jitna ghee,
Anything else to be wary of once you choose to go on a platform?
So one, you obviously pick the platform of your choice, and then you dive into it thinking about why you're doing this. Are you doing this only for thought leadership?
Yep.
Just to build a follower base or an audience to network with, build a community around your work? Or are you looking for lead generation? The amount of energy and resources, and that includes money, you'll put in will depend on your end goal. Is it if you are looking to get leads, you'll have to put in more money.
Yeah.
But if you're slowly just incrementally looking at building a community, then a small amount sustained over 6 months will make an impact.
Yeah.
And here there's so much knowledge today about Instagram algorithms and LinkedIn algorithms. One can just do some deep dive into it and understand how and what the algorithms are also favoring. So for example, it's common knowledge that if you have put in money into ads on Instagram for a month, the minute you stop putting in money, your traction will go down.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking, okay, I'm going to test it out by putting in 5,000 rupees this month, one has to ensure that you actually have a budget for 6 months. 6 months.
Yeah.
See how it has worked for you, and then take a decision that do you want to do 5 or do you want to do 10 basis the results aligned with your goals.
Yeah.
That is critical.
Yeah. Another thing I find, let's say someone's running a lead generation campaign.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And their website, because sometimes they end up going to your website and this thing, and your website is not geared towards lead generation.
Yes.
You lose
face
traffic.
it all the time. Yeah.
There's a leakage.
Yeah. Which is why, like I said, for us, the starting point is always the website. Yeah. We don't, for a lot of brands and designers we work with, our first 2 or 3 months are spent on the website, and then we actually start the content creation work. Because it will define and change everything. What is your call to action otherwise?
I'll come to that question later. I have one. We'll come to it towards the end. So ये हो गया तीनों social media platform. Email marketing. Is it still worth it? Like there was a rage of email marketing 10 years ago, right? There were emails
and
coming.
And then everybody said, "Kaun email padhta hai?" Right? Everybody said that. Well, I think it still works.
Yeah.
And more than me saying it, I think our clients are a true testament of the fact that out of all the tools, especially for people who are outside of the boutique residential space, architects and designers who are just outside of that space, where they've started exploring commercial and other things. And even for them, I think the newsletter is the perfect tool to be subtle, to say what you want, to showcase your portfolio. And I think today the platforms that exist are so aligned with data and analytics that you really get a sense of your audience and what they want through that data.
So if you are a young startup firm, just starting out, आपके पास कोई database तो है नहीं, right? तो email भेजोगे किसको?
Well, initially, so we even suggest that, you send, it's a great way to even keep media updated on what you're doing. Start with that. Right?
So send it to all the journalists.
You figure out your 5 journalists. You figure out a family and friend network.
Yeah.
Right? You've done 5 bathrooms for family and friends, or you've done renovations. They need to know that you're moving on to bigger projects.
Yeah.
Every architect I have met in my life has said that, we get all our work through word of mouth. We don't need marketing.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Actually, the bulk of the work comes through word of mouth.
Yeah.
But are you capitalizing on your word of mouth network? You're sitting there waiting for your network to come in and give you work. But the newsletter is a very subtle way, and you don't have to do it every week. It's not FMCG like we were discussing.
It can be once a quarter.
It can be once a quarter. Or it can be once in a year. We've done newsletters once in a year. But very successful, quality. Right? 12 months, here is what we were doing. And one key milestone every month. That's a good newsletter. It could be just a blog piece going as a newsletter. But you need to figure out what is working for your audience.
Yeah.
It could be, I know so many firms, especially the startups, right? They say, we don't have any work to show in our newsletter. What do we say? You talk about your approach. Yeah. You talk about 5 ways to look at bathrooms. You talk about 5 color palettes today. You talk about the Pantone trending color of the year.
You talk about the 5 mistakes that you found and how you've improved it in your system. People love authenticity.
Yeah. And people have the right. You're not intruding onto their lives, right? They have a right to unsubscribe. They have a right to choose whether they want to read your email or not. And data shows that on weekends, people do catch up on their emails. People read the emails because people want to clear their inboxes. And people also want new and interesting content. I subscribe to a lot of stuff. I myself read a lot of emails.
I don't remember the name of this company. Well, I do, but nahi baat karte uske bare mein. But oh my God, their email marketing was so powerful that after I think 3 months, I didn't need their services. But I sent them a mail that I love the logic through which you have approached me, and I'm writing this email back because I'm loving the flow of follow-ups that's happening. They were looking for some business in the IT side, and I didn't need that service. And it was every email I read. It was not a mail that you just say, "Achha, band karo, usko karo." I would read their mails because they picked up an issue, and then they gave a mini solution to it. And say, look, I can solve this problem for you. Let's get in touch. And the second follow-up,
really works.
And then second follow-up was, look, maybe you were busy and you missed it. So I just want to check that, I don't want you to miss out on this amazing content that we did for someone else. And aise karte they were building it out. And finally they said, look, we understand that you might be busy. You don't need our services right now. But we will keep reaching out to you once in a while to just keep checking in on you and what your needs are.
And that's great. And the only thing I feel with email marketing is that, again, everybody wants to automate everything, which doesn't really work.
Not always.
That much automation will not work. So, for example, just sending these 3 follow-up emails as an automated process can do a lot of damage also, if not done well.
If not done well.
To the contrary, having a personal connect with those emailers, having a human look at it, check it, test it out is something that will definitely add value. So even content, if it's too disconnected, will not work. Like you said, you liked the fact that they were personally reaching out with a solution-based approach. That's what changed the game.
It was an automated mail.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. But the way it was written was making a personal connect.
Okay, अब आपने decide कर लिया, hearing you that मुझे ये करना है, ये नहीं करना, this thing. How do you organize yourself personally within your company to take out time to put resources behind this? Because execution is everything.
Yeah. And everybody doesn't. I think budgets are always limited for everybody, no matter what scale you are at, I think. So what we suggest to most people is, you go through the introspection, you figure out which are the tools that you'll adopt. While at that point, what is critical is to identify how much of it can you do in-house, right? Within the design teams itself, there are enough people, for example, who can work together to create a cohesive language for Instagram. There will be that one architect, like me, who loves to write, but is continuing to practice. Integrate them as a part of your content building team. Don't let content creation be an add-on after everything exercise. I think that's again a mistake that we all make as designers, that pehle sab kuch kar lenge, then end mein we will look at content creation. That end will never happen. एक project khatam hua, दूसरा start हो जाएगा. You have to keep at it. So the more you integrate communication and marketing activities within your studio, it really is better. And for us, it's a matter of complete pride when a studio comes back to us and says, you know what, we worked with you for 6 years. We've actually become self-sufficient now. And I feel our job is well done when we have trained them to be independently running this. You enable a system, one will be surprised to find the talent. The office managers, the HR people can be asked to drive the team stuff that goes on to Instagram and LinkedIn. The design teams, the people who are working on the concepts create the content for the concept stuff. The people who are going to site create the story content. What do you really need? You need that 1/2 day in a week for housekeeping. That's all really that one needs. And of course, if you're a founder-led firm and an individual-led firm, it's good to check in with yourself at least once a month to see whether all your communication activities are aligned.
Yes.
That matrix can only be defined by the vision, right?
No, what's really bugging me, sorry to say, and I don't talk about this, is that budgets are always limited.
Yeah.
Budgets are always limited because we limit them.
Yeah.
Right? And think of it this way, if we can price ourselves slightly better,
Yeah.
right?
As an industry, we need to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you can price yourself a little better, can you charge 10% more than what you were charging 3 months ago?
Yeah.
Can marketing enable you to do that? Can your fees go up 40-50% higher over a period of time? And really good marketing, of course, your work has to substantiate it, but really good marketing allows for that thing to happen.
And also, one needs to understand that it is an investment.
It is an investment.
At
It's
some
not an
point,
expense.
It's
an
not
investment.
that, okay, if I get the work, I will invest. You invest and it's a chicken and egg situation.
Yeah.
You invest and you will get the work.
Jo
I don't
dikhta
know
hai, wo bickta
anybody,
hai.
I don't know anybody who said that, you know what, I spent this money and it was a sheer waste of my resource. Of course, if you haven't picked the right person and the team and the agency, whatever is working for you, that can, but as long as your goals are defined and you have invested in the right tools, there is no way that you will not get that ROI. That ROI is there.
Absolutely. No, it's the same as you make a wrong hire.
Yeah.
You end up picking up a wrong project. You end up picking up a wrong client. You end up picking up a wrong marketing project.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
It's just
or
the same.
A tool that hasn't worked for
You know,
but you have to not sort of the studio and its life, right, is not dependent on that one thing. No. It's one of the things that is just, and you know, this is not just valid for marketing. It's actually true for all the support functions that make a design practice, or any company for that matter. I think architects and designers also shy. I mean, today it's marketing we are talking about, but I see in the industry that HR is the same issue today. Nobody wants to invest in HR, right? And nobody wants to invest in an HR manager. Forget, you know, a process.
HR क्या है जी? वो तो Excel sheet में numbers ही तो हैं.
हमारे पास तो लोग आते हैं, इतनी applications आ रही हैं, लोग तो मिल जाएंगे. जितना टाइम आप ट्रायल एंड टेस्टिंग में करेंगे वेस्ट, उतने टाइम में इफ यू एक्चुअली हैव अ फोकस कॉन्क्रीट एफर्ट इन HR, building the right team, attracting the right candidates who will stay long term with you, will make the commitment and bring in the right value.
You need to align, right? Your vision with your team's vision. No, it's not only that, Tanya. It's people say आज के जो generation है जो आ रही है ये वैसे नहीं है जैसे पहले थे, रहते नहीं है. You're paying I don't take names. I know there are firms that pay 12,000 rupees a month, 15,000. First of all,
for a 5-year graduate. Yeah.
First of all, you're below the minimum wage.
Yeah.
All right. So please sort that out. Don't be on the wrong side of law.
Yeah.
And second is, guys, you're paying more to your driver and your cook at home.
Oh, there is the other side of it. Now there's this whole thing that they should be paying us because हम तो सिखा रहे हैं उनको. Right?
कहाँ से आएंगे लोग इस इंडस्ट्री में?
I should not name the colleges, but colleges this year have not managed to attract the bare minimum number of students. Because as a profession, I think we've done so much injustice to who we are and what value we bring to life. We are underestimating or selling ourselves so cheap right now that nobody wants to be a part of this profession.
Look, if you're unable to pay well to your team, it's not that there's a mismatch in the wages market. You're not being able to price yourself right. And it's also brand building. I mean, this is real brand building, right? The talent goes out there. They are the ones who will talk about you. No matter how many publications you will get. But your talent is speaking of who you are as a brand. Now coming to publications.
Yes, sure. The fun part.
The fun part. So like HR ka ho gaya, that was not part of the flow today, but I love the conversation we had, and it's very important, and it's a recurring theme that I'm seeing everywhere. But coming to publications, there are a lot of media houses in India. There's a lot of content that's going out in them. If you want to get featured on so first of all, what are the leading magazines in India, just for general audience? And if you want to get onto those magazines, how should you go about building your content?
So there are two segments to media. One is the design media, right? Where there are about, I think, 8 to 10 that go out in print.
Okay.
And there are many, many that go out digitally.
Okay.
I would not, everything is a leading magazine.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because let's not judge.
Yeah.
And also, every media platform has an audience.
Yes.
As a designer, your goal should not be, and again, we tell a lot of incoming queries, we tell them this. There is no point in just being featured in the same magazine month after month after month. If you want to build a brand, you have to be everywhere. Our annual goals, right, and we're working towards end of the year sort of summaries for clients. Our annual goal is to be a part of every single design magazine. And then there's the other side of it, which is mainstream media, which is your newspapers and outlooks and India Today's, and which are common, which is what the common man is reading.
Yeah.
If you want yourself and your services to be hired, to be sort of bought by somebody else, you have to reach the end user.
Yeah.
And media presence there is much more critical than actually the design magazines, right? And all of them actually have room for design. It's either there'll be a section on cities, there'll be a section on decor, there'll be a section on furniture, there will even a midday, which is like a daily newspaper.
Yeah.
It has a lifestyle section.
It does.
Where it will give you 5 brands to look out for. So all your furniture brands, please focus on being there, because that's where your business is coming from as well. And once you cover all of these different segments of media, and then include travel and lifestyle and sectoral, there are construction magazines differently. There are magazines that only go to the developers. There are these very, very sector specific magazines like Hotelier India or Business World.
Yeah, absolutely.
One needs to be everywhere.
No, industrial projects, there's a completely different target audience.
Yeah. The healthcare industry.
Yeah.
There are the magazines that are serving the healthcare industry. I think there are about 5 to 8 in India. They're so good.
Okay.
So somebody who's in the field doing hospitals, there's no point in being in a design media. That's okay. Brand building will happen through design media, but it's the healthcare magazines that will give you the business.
You need to go where your audience is sitting.
Yeah. And
Not
it all
where you
comes
want to
back.
be.
Yeah. And it
Not
all
where you
comes
want to be.
back to first identifying who your audience is.
Yeah.
Unless you identify who the audience is, how will you know where they're sitting? What are they reading? What are they consuming for content?
It's not about you. It's about
It's
the
not about you. Yeah.
audience that you want to serve. Yeah. How do you build really good content for these?
So
magazines?
for us, we don't judge. Right?
No, sure.
We are detached from the situation. It's your story. It's your project.
No, okay, let me reframe the question.
Yeah.
When you send an entry, when you send your content, right? All these publications have a hygiene that needs to be met.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what those
So
hygienes are?
For example, for us, every project should be documented, in about 100 words.
Okay.
With its USPs standing
That's
out.
hard.
Yeah. And then a long form description, which is about 500 to 800 words.
Okay.
For an early pitch to an editor, the 100 words comes in handy.
Right.
And then if you can't get the 100 words right, they're not interested in your project.
Yeah.
Then if you've got that right, they will be interested, and then you share the long form content. Substantiated with really high quality visuals.
Yeah.
What are visuals? Of course, it's great photography, and photography must, again, we define a lot of sort of, not terms and conditions, but just basics that one should keep in mind. Should it be shot in daylight? Should it be shot in artificial light? What sort of project? What is the overall narrative? Now, again, it goes back to that 100-word descriptor for us, right? If you are talking about a home in the hills, right? Don't shoot it in artificial light. The whole idea of a home in the hills is that it should give you some sense of
with the
relief,
sunrise,
connect
the
with
sunrise.
nature.
Yep.
The minute you shoot, curtains covered, all of that, the purpose is defeated. Your narrative is not aligned with the visuals. So at our end, we first focus on that narrative and then work backwards. Then the shoots are done accordingly. The photographers are briefed accordingly. Sometimes the same drawings work, but sometimes it could mean a rejig and a reworking of the drawing, because the drawing has to communicate the same design intent. I think what the design industry needs to understand, that standard working drawings and sections and elevations are not always communicating the narrative. Yes, if you've done a great brick jali detail, right, to filter in light, then that technical drawing is needed, because that is what is making my project special.
Yeah.
But if my project is not about details, then don't give 100 detailed drawings to the editor, because the editor is just going to zone out and say, you know what, this project is not making sense to me. I like the narrative. I will only, as editors also, they are overloaded with content.
Yeah.
Feed them content that is relevant.
He's an editor not only for the design and architectural space, he's the editor for the whole magazine or a sub-editor.
Nobody
there
wants
for
100 press
section.
releases.
Yeah.
See if your project, more than anything, it is important to first go through the magazine and see, is your project a fit for that magazine? If it's a decor magazine, you can't send them a hospital project.
No, I really liked. वो तो है ही है. That's but for taken. But you spoke about photography, getting the right quality of photographs, the right shooting done. इसमें भी लोग चिल्ली चोरी करते हैं.
And adding scale to it. You're talking about an institution. You're photographing a campus. There are no people. The campus is meaningless.
Yeah.
You're talking about public spaces being used or common spaces
Yeah,
being
but
used. There are no
चार
people in
कबूतर
there.
बैठे हो वहाँ पे.
इतना clean and hygienic shoot है,
हाँ.
but it doesn't go with the narrative.
Yeah.
So the narrative is critical, and for us, that's the big focus, and then everything follows from there. And we get involved with that process.
Right. If you're a designer, you're looking at getting onto this. Okay, first of all, there's a lot of award shows that are happening, right? I think there are more than 200 events out of 365 days. Probably more, and every day is getting added. What should be a strategy? Should you try to get onto some of them? Should you avoid them? What's happening?
Again, you pick, you do you, right?
Yeah.
You pick what works for you.
Yeah.
Awards, if your target audience wants the awards and are convinced with the credibility that an award adds to your portfolio, then yes, invest in the awards. Of course, paid awards do not work. I don't think they add value in the long run.
I think
Everybody
people figure
knows.
it out.
Yeah, everybody knows it's a paid award. So there is no point in investing energy there. But institutional awards, organizational awards like a CII award or an IIA award, which is the Indian Institute of Architects or the Indian Institute of Interior Designers.
Yeah.
These are very credible awards. Even the Media House awards are credible awards. There are juries who invest time and energy, and it's such a great feedback loop that one should definitely invest some energy there with the right projects. I think as designers, again, I feel like introspection is so critical because you know whether this project is award worthy.
Yeah.
Should it even be entered for the award is the decision you need to take.
Yeah.
No agency can come and tell you that. You decide, and it's vice versa. There are studios who create that one very stellar and very sexy award-winning project. If that's the goal for you.
You know, my dad was in jury, I think Construction Weekly ka award tha ya kiska tha. He was in jury and there was an entry from an architect. And there was some fabrication in the story.
Yeah.
Clearly, the jury caught on to it.
Yeah.
Right?
And that is so damaging, right?
Oh, very. And apparently the jury called up, like, I think you made a mistake with this. And the guy stuck to his story. I don't want to get into the details of it. But the reason I brought it up was that you said, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's not what you're putting. It's also that there are smart people
sitting
who are wetting.
It's a feedback loop.
Yeah.
I mean, I know for a fact that most people who participate in awards only do it for that reason, actually. The fact that, one, this opportunity will allow me to think and put down my project in a manner that can be understood by the world out there is a learning for me. Even senior professionals, participate in awards with that goal that, okay, it'll allow me to think. I am saying that my project is sustainable, but the minute I have to do the award entry, I actually have to justify whether it is sustainable or not. And that, it's a great learning process. As creative professionals, we can never say that, okay, we are done. We know everything.
Oh no.
That learning doesn't stop.
Oh.
For us in our studio, it's very, this is very famous hashtag learning every day. You are learning every day. There's something new. So awards, again, are one such opportunity. Even events are exactly the same. You go out there, you meet people, you're moving out of your bubble and silo, and you are seeing what the world is doing. It is a must. But then, yes, individually everybody is different. How many events do you want to go for? There's some people who thrive on these events. They go for everything. Great. Somebody like me, I have to, while of course my work requires me to go for 200 of these events, but I know there are times when the personal side of me just needs me to hold back.
How
And
much
take
is
that
too
step
much?
back. You define, like I said, you do you.
You know,
For me, 4 consecutive days of events is too much.
too much.
And then I will need a week of, like, I become antisocial
No,
after
but-
that. It's a detox
Okay.
that I need.
If you're visible too much,
Yeah.
is that sometimes becomes negative for your brand?
So what I think for creative professionals, what happens is you may be visible too much, but if it doesn't align with the work that you're putting out there, I mean, I know for a fact that people who are only visible at events
Yeah.
and their work is not visible, that will be damage to your brand. Because your client also wants to know that you are doing the work, and not just the client, even brand building cannot only be driven by just being visible at an event.
Yeah.
There has to be, again, events are opportunities for networking, building thought leadership, sharing a discourse, getting to be a part of a dialogue, engaging with people. Simply just attending all events also doesn't work.
Yeah.
At some point, one needs to start participating in events, sharing your own thoughts, being recognized for who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
That should be the goal, whether it's awards or events. And that balance needs to be found.
So there are 2 parts to it. For one, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine in the hills, he's got a lot of land. So he wanted to get these villas made in his land. So he was looking at some architectural firms, and I said, okay, these are a couple of very good ones that he had. And he said, listen, I've heard थोड़ा सा अजीब चीज़ इसके बारे में, ऐसे क्या सुना है तू? So he said, yeah, these people are only concerned in the front end thing.
Yeah.
And they're
Taking
not there
the
for the
project
clients.
through. Yeah.
No, they're not there for the clients.
Yeah. So again, that is brand building, right? And it is, like I said, it has to be meaningful engagement.
Yeah.
I think one needs to stop actually treating them. And as an industry, maybe this is a shift in mindset that we all need. It's not an event.
It's not
Everybody
an event.
has a social life.
Yeah.
No architects or designers are waiting to be brought somewhere and treated with good food and drinks. Everybody has access to it today.
Yeah, everyone
That
has
is
to
not
do
the reason why people are coming. Yeah. People are coming to an event to engage with the design fraternity, to engage with
learn.
an outside audience, sometimes just the larger network of people as well. And it has to be an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
If that learning is not there, I think nobody is looking for a social life here.
Now
The minute you start treating it as an intelligent exercise, then you look at it differently and you figure out where you want to go and where you don't want to go.
If you're a young designer, should you really go out of your way to attend these talks?
To begin with, yes.
Yeah.
Because forget young designer. For however old I am, I love to be put in a room where I can hear people talk.
Yeah.
And there are enough opportunities through the year in India where some fabulous people are talking about their work, their ideology, their design ethos. If you get that as an opportunity, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you're a young or a seasoned professional. Well, you need to move outside your silo and bubble because we are living in a highly interconnected global world. There is no way you can thrive, especially in a creative profession, if you don't know what the others are doing.
Yeah. Now you decide that you want to hire a marketing agency, right?
You come to us.
Yes,
No,
that's
just kidding. No, just
but on a serious note, a lot of people go wrong in hiring a marketing agency. I've been on that boat. ये रुपए ले लो, ये मेरा काम कर दो, and then 6 महीने बाद कुछ हो नहीं रहा है. What are the type of things that you need to work with your marketing agency with? Like, what do you want?
I think it's a very, very good question. And I'm so glad there's a platform to actually talk about this. So I think most people think that hiring an agency will save them the trouble of doing the hard work. The agency is only going to support. Whether you hire a resource in-house or you hire an agency, the vision will still have to be laid out by you. That's the first thing. If you don't have a vision, there's no point in investing any amount of money because it will lead to nothing.
Yeah.
It may give you short-term gratification, but that's not really a long-term solution. It is very important to have a brief. Just like as an architect, if you get a design project without a brief, and the client is constantly changing their mind, and the client is constantly looking at newer ways of doing it. So options dikhao, you are not a happy designer. The same thing applies to marketing and communications.
Right.
We do not even start a project until our client has not answered a questionnaire that we've given them. We don't want long, detailed write-ups.
Right.
We're happy to get on a call with you and understand your requirements. Yeah. But we need that brief and your goals. Because my marketing tools and the work that I will do will not be impactful and effective if I don't know what your goals are. It is really, really important to literally list down what you're looking for and what is the body of work that you have. Sometimes somebody will say, you know what, I want to start with Instagram or LinkedIn or social media or website right now. Abhi start kar do. Ye lijiye, check ready hai. I have come with it. But I need the photography.
Yeah.
What will I create a website with? So we are in no rush. I can talk on behalf of Epistle at least. Yeah. We are never in a rush to take on a client. We would rather wait for 6 months. You create the content. In fact, we always, even when we're starting with somebody, there is a 1 month sort of easy coming on board time frame, which is not chargeable. We are not charging you for that time. But please create your content, put it together. We will work with you and tell you what do we need, basics, photography, list of photographers. We'll give you everything. And then you start work when you're ready to go in for a deep dive. That's one. 2, decide on a minimum time frame. It can't be कि मैंने पहले month में करा and I want to see again instant results. Your first publication is not going to come out.
How much time should someone invest with their agency getting on the alignment? I know agencies take the check, by the way. Yeah? There are hundreds of agencies there. If the moment you write a check, thousands of agencies, you write a check कि बस मेरा ये start कर दो, आज रुपया लेके कल start कर देंगे आपके लिए.
Yeah, but
right?
We don't agree with that.
No, you may not agree with it, but that's what I'm saying. In general, that's what's happening. It's not only with the architectural space. This is with any marketing agency in the industry.
Yeah. That doesn't work. You need to invest one. Ideal period is minimum a year to really see results. But minimum is 6 months. So we say minimum 6 months because even if you start rolling out content, you start seeing traction, engagement, prints, publications, etc. only in the 3rd month. And it takes 3 months to even understand each other. Sometimes it takes 6 months to understand each other, the tone of voice. Yeah, exactly.
It's a courtship.
Exactly.
My marketing coach had once told me that, शादी के लिए, बारातीस के लिए तुम इतने लेवल पे चले जाओगे कि वो कहाँ से एंटर करे, उसके कौन सी पानी की बोतल मिलनी चाहिए, वो कहाँ प्लेस होना चाहिए, खाना कहाँ मिलना चाहिए. He said, and that's an expense. You're never going to get a return on it. Yeah. And for your customers, for your people who are in your ecosystem, do you go to that depth of planning, of putting things together?
So, very interesting what you said, because I totally agree with it. When we work with our clients, one deliverable, people say collaterals, हमें बता दीजिए कैसे करने हैं, right? Brochures, catalogs, digital catalogs, e-catalogs, whatever, newsletter, printed stuff. I think the one collateral that nobody looks at is their own meeting rooms, office spaces, conference rooms, reception areas. So we actually tell, when you finish the 6 months with us, we tell you how to re-look at it. Yeah. There is no point in having 100 publications. But the person walking into your office space does not know of those publications. Yeah. It's your client, your potential client has come to your office for the first time. No. Do you have a stack of publications lying there?
And it has to be designed. Sorry, I'm jumping in on this. You have to ensure that when the client is there, वो 5 minutes उसको wait वहाँ कराया जाए so that he sees it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are so many other subtle ways in which you can do this. Yeah. So for us, we're trying to look at that entire ecosystem. And I would suggest if anybody is looking to invest in marketing, look at the entire ecosystem. Yeah. Take an informed decision that, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm only going to look at these 3 tools. But at least make that informed decision. Look at the ecosystem and see what all one can do. What all are you choosing not to do? Because you will invest energy in the right place at the right time. And that is really, really the essence of everything. If you don't know who you are and where you want to be and what your tools are going to be, it all falls flat. And we've all seen enough examples. We've also seen our work. We can't do justice sometimes because we don't have visual content. Or for that matter, like I was saying earlier, if as a brand you think you've hired an agency, but you have no time to meet them,
Oh yeah,
it
don't
won't
hire.
work.
Don't
It
hire.
won't work, right? If you want me to be engaged with you every month and stay connected, you will also have to put in the time
Yeah.
and effort.
That is true. That is true. You have to, and I think the shift has started happening. I see it. A lot of people are talking about not only architectural
Yeah,
and the design
across
field,
the board, yeah.
across all industries. People have started understanding the value of
Yeah.
marketing and where marketing is going. Marketing is not ads.
Yeah.
Marketing ads is a very small subset
component,
of
absolutely.
marketing, but marketing is far more than ads. I think
Also, I would like to add, I think one more thing now that we're talking. I think specialized content
oh yeah
also is very undervalued, at least in our country, I think. I think that it is, of course, no offense to all the marketing experts. I'm not a trained marketer, right? My education is not marketing. But the fact that you bring in subject expertise, right? It really changes the game.
domain
Whether you're in
knowledge.
medicine, you're in law, you're in whatever. Domain-specific marketing is what one needs to look at because it will be driven by content. To look at marketing as a standard deliverable is not going to add value in the long run. It may, like I said, it may give you short-term gratification, but in the long run, it won't do
No, it's not. If you're an architect and one of your specialization is, let's say, lighting solutions,
Yeah.
right? Double down on it.
Yeah.
Because there is, with the way scale is happening, with the architecture is happening in India, urban planning is happening, lighting ho, sound ho, there's so many different aspects.
So many things, landscape ho, kuch bhi ho.
kuch
It
bhi ho.
is, but that domain specific
Even on
expertise-
sustainability.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're right, absolutely right on
And
that.
you also find what is it that is your area of expertise. Everybody does not need to follow the sustainability game. Everybody does not need to follow the landscape game or the interior decor game. You figure, I mean, like I said, you do you.
What comes naturally to you.
Yeah, whatever
that's
who you are.
That's the secret.
Yeah, that's the secret.
That's the secret. Wonderful. Okay, before we end the show today, had you not gotten into this side, the content creation side, what would Tanya Khanna have been doing?
I actually have no idea.
Yeah.
There are times when I think that, is it all worth it? And should I stop? And when somebody will say, will you sell this company out and do something else? I don't know what else I'll do. I'm very fortunate to have found something I love.
Yeah.
And it really does give me a lot of joy, more than I think anybody outside of me will ever understand. I don't think I could do anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if that situation did happen, I would probably be doing something to do with food and content. So I think cooking is a big sort of, again, it gives me the same amount of joy.
Is there a lot of cooking content on your Insta channel?
A fair amount, but as I'm turning older and an Epistle has become bigger and I have got busier with events,
Cooking has
sort of taken a backseat. But for me, the most stressful days for me are always followed up by a whole sort of outburst of cooking, and which is very good for family and friends.
Yeah.
So I think I would be doing that. And I should tell you very interestingly, when I left my job, right, and I was starting out Epistle, and I was figuring out the whole branding, and I did everything myself, from the logo to the website, etc. And every word that was written. I actually had a cooking blog that I started.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think that for me was the culmination of what I really wanted to do with my life, I guess. The act of cooking, documenting the act of cooking, and then writing about it. And then, putting it out there. And it was a very sort of, I don't think the blog was pushed out because the goal was not to market it, but that's what I did. And and it was a lot of testing of recipes and figuring out and mixing and matching. And it was like this whole documented archive that I had attempted to create. I think I stuck to it for about 2 years, but then many other things happened in life, and it's just sort of,
very nice.
It's just parked somewhere on the World Wide Web. So yeah, that's probably what I would do.
Give us the link. We'll make it part of the.
Yeah, I think my team knows, but I've decided.
We'll add it in the description.
Yeah, because like I said, it was like a journal at that point.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of personal sort of. It was pre-Instagram times, so it was like my little Instagram.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
And look, you're very passionate. about marketing. You're passionate about what's happening at Epistle. How do you manage the family side of things?
So I don't have very high ambition when it comes to my profession. I mean, really, the scaling up was not a goal. Like I said, I always wanted to be an
It happened
independent
naturally.
consultant. It was a very organic trajectory. So I don't choose to spend a lot of time. I mean, I don't have business plans and goals and those sort of things happening. I also find that family and friends' time it has to be really of value. So quality over quantity is what is important. I, of course, go through mom guilt, daughter guilt, all of that, daughter-in-law guilt. I mean, there's multiple guilts, friends. But I see that when I'm there, I'm fully there. And I try and balance it out. Like I said, if it's events, if it's really adding value, I will be there. But then I will not compromise on my own health,
Yeah.
my family's time, and many other things simply because I have to be at that event.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't eat out at a lot of these events. Even if I'm going out 5 consecutive evenings for work-related events, I will not have a drink every day. I try and balance it out. Because everything is in the evening, it sometimes means compromising on time with my children. But then those are the days I am at home from 4 to 7 and I'm with them. I get their stuff sorted and we just try and balance it out.
And your husband's been a very big supporter.
Husband,
I know this
family,
from our offline
yes,
conversations, yeah.
yes. Husband, family, more than husband, also equally my mom-in-law,
Yeah.
because we all just balance that time. And I find myself being just a better person as a result. I think I'm a better mother, a better daughter, a better daughter-in-law, a better wife, a better partner, a better friend, simply also because of the exposure that I'm getting. And more than anything, I've realized that for a lot of people, what is deemed to be a profession, for me, it's genuinely a journey. My work, I mean, I don't know what you think about it, but imagine I've worked with over 150 architects, designers, founders of companies,
Right.
founders of institutions and principals. My work has allowed me the opportunity to learn from them straight hand.
Right.
No management degree would have given me this sort of experience. So I find myself actually feeling very grateful for the opportunity that I have. So it hasn't taken away from anything. And yes, I don't go on vacations every long weekend. I don't have the luxury to do it. But that quality time just at home or an easy dinner out is very satisfying. Like I said, I don't have very high expectations of what is good quality work-life balance. I think it's a very real goal for me, and there are good days and there are bad days, and it's fine.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on and being so candid. I think the content that you've given out today, they're gems, and I really hope the audience likes it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I'm really also equally excited to see the shape that this podcast has taken and where it is going and where it will go. I think we're all excited to see that. Yeah.
We just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.